This is Arunava Chaudhuri and you are on my YouTube channel, Arunfoot. The Indian Super League season 2024-2025 is history. 11 years of the ISL have now passed, and I once again want to ask and raise the question, will we have an Indian Super League season next season? The signs at the moment are not good. Of course, the All India Football Federation recently decided to form a special committee to look into the matter, to speak to Reliance and try and find a solution which is in the interest of Indian football, the All India Football Federation, as well as Reliance-owned FSDL. But at the moment, it is not clear where this journey is going, because one should not forget that the original MRA contract runs out on the 31st of December 2025, which means that the new season, which starts on the 1st of June, you can't complete the ISL season before the end of the contract. So what does happen? And at the moment, it is also very, very clear that the AIFF themselves are in a very, very complex, complicated situation. Look at the chaos in the I-League in regard to who has been crowned or should be crowned champions. The AIFF has to set its house in order. And this fear, this danger that I've had now for a while, that I've been speaking for over a year, that the AIFF should be working on either renewing the contract with Reliance or finding an alternative. And interestingly, there are a number of persons who are saying, oh, you know what, let Reliance go, we'll find someone else. Who should be that someone else? Because the reality around Indian football has been that, yes, there have been some takers and you've been able to run the ISL, you've been able to run the I-League, I-League 2 and all the other leagues. But where is that new big sponsor in the last few years who's come in and invested X amount of money into Indian football to help support and grow Indian football? That is, the catch-22 in my opinion, the difficult scenario that we find ourselves in, because we haven't been able to find solutions to the problems of the AIFF, the running of the AIFF, the people running the AIFF, and them taking decisions in the best interest of Indian football. We are stuck in a situation where we cannot find solutions, desperate solutions for the future of Indian football. And if you ask me at this moment, from what I know and from what I understand a little bit about Indian football, is that at this moment in time, there will be no Indian Super League 2025-2026. That's the reality. Whatever the clubs, whatever the franchises say, there is nothing that has been worked out. And the AIFF has dragged its feet. The AIFF has waited for so long to come to a solution, that the danger of Reliance saying, you know what, thank you very much, we tried everything for 15 years, but we have failed. That's a real danger. That's an honest situation that could happen and could arise. And this is something which we're not talking about at the moment. And that makes me very, very fearful at the end of the day, that we are not getting where we should need to get to. Indian football needs to have a future. But at the moment, if we look at the situation, if we look at the scenario that we find ourselves in, with all that has been happening, or rather not happening, things look very complex and very, very bleak. And then we've got the involvement of the courts, be it Delhi High Court intervening in certain matters. The Supreme Court is involved in those things. We aren't moving ahead. We need a clear-cut structure. We need the right leadership in Indian football to take us forward. And to be very, very honest at this time, I do not see any other opportunities than sticking with Reliance, sticking with the ISL. Because if Reliance and the ISL goes, the system's going to collapse, because the AIFF will not be able to run all these plans of a 16-team league and all that stuff. How can you trust the AIFF after all that's happened in and around the I-League, trust the AIFF in running a league? It could only be done if a new set of leaders come in, run the federation, organize the federation, and do whatever is needed, whatever needs to be done to take Indian football forward. At this moment, and again, I warn that this is a scenario which is there, and the leadership isn't there where it needs to be to take a call on these things. And if they cannot extend with Reliance, look for alternatives. Where are those alternatives would then be my question. And again, I raise these points again and again and again, even in direct conversation with people who are either the decision makers or close to decision makers. Nobody seems to have an answer. And that makes me really, really fear. What do you guys think? Do you agree? Do you disagree with me? Do you have a different viewpoint? Write those down in the comments below. And as always, like, share, and subscribe Arunfoot here on YouTube. Visit my other social medias. Visit arunfoot.com. And I'll be back very soon. Arunava Chaudhuri signing off. Bye for now.